Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Mike and this is Build and Tinker, and today we're carrying on with issues 31 to 34 of the Fanhome DeAgostini 1/8 scale Batmobile from the 1966 television series. Last video we completed the bulk of the frame rail, so we're now into adding on the last parts of the rear axle. We'll probably get that fitted to the frame as well today, and some of the rear suspension. You may also see my video where I installed the Mike Lane Bat Beacon. Check that out in the links if you haven't seen that. It's a really great mod, and hopefully soon we'll be getting to the interior because I've got some other Mike Lane mods to go in there at some point soon as well. So let's get started. So here are the parts for issue 31. We have the cover for the differential and the other half of the axle, and that literally just sits straight over the top of the axle like that, with the screw holes facing towards the back. We have a packet of AM screws, so we're going to use those to attach this. One on each side. The next step is to fit the plastic part onto the back of the axle. This is part of the sort of diff housing. It just sits over the back like that. So you'll note that we've got two pieces here that look like fins and only one on that side. We want this on my right when we've got the axle in that orientation. Yeah. We do need some AP screws to hold that in, just a couple of those. And they're going from this side. You've just got to make sure it's lined up so the holes are in the right place. Easy as that. And then this cover goes over the top like that. Again, just check the magazine for which way round you need to put it. Now this looks like it's just a push fit. You just press it into place, but it doesn't. Yeah, that's going in. That's not too bad. Okay, it's not falling out. Okay, so that's basically our rear axle almost complete there with the diff on it, and that's everything for issue 31. Issue 32, we're going to fit a leaf spring and part of a shock. It's a really big leaf spring here. Again, that's another metal piece. We have this bracket, which is the top mount for the spring. A couple of U-bolts. These feel like they're actually, yeah, they are threaded, so they're genuine. They act properly as U-bolts. This is okay. This is basically a spanner. So this is actually a tool for doing the nuts up. So it's not part of the model. It's for doing the nuts up on here. So that's quite cool. And the very first stage is to take the axle we've just finished assembly and put the leaf spring over this stud here. Now it just sits over that stud there. So having put the leaf spring on, we now need to put this top plate on. There's a piece that sticks out the side of it. I'm not quite sure what it is yet, but I think something's going to screw into that. And that needs to be on the inside. So we need to flip this over so that the big L that's stamped in it is going to face downwards. We won't be able to see that. And then this screw hole post, whatever it is facing down in the same direction as the connection to our prop shaft. and we put a screw through the middle, and it's going to thread into the threaded stud on the axle. Okay, so that's screwed in nice and tight, nothing's moving. Then we take these U-bolts, and they go in from the underside, so they're going to go around the axle and then make their way through the holes in the plate. So the plate needs to be nice and square. Now they may not line up perfectly because on this one they just need to be bent out ever so slightly. So just be careful, don't break them. There we go, there's one. It's very difficult to see what I'm doing, I'm sure, but that's going through there. And the threaded part of the U-bolt's now sticking through the plate. And then there's another one for the other side. So again, just feed it through. You may need to bend them outwards ever so slightly to line up with the holes on the plate. So with all four of those sticking out through the plate, we now take the bag of 4 nuts, and they don't give us a spare on these, so do be careful not to break them or strip the threads. And you can put one in the end of the tool they've given us, which is like a little nut wrench. Put it over the top of the nut and use this to do it up. Just need to be tight enough. Hold everything in place. There we go. That's so we now have our spring attached to the axle. There's one more component to add. It's a silver piece, and it's basically the other half of the shock absorber. So we put one half on the frame already. This is now attached to, or will be attached to, the axle, and they're obviously going to come together at some point. This attaches to that piece on the edge of this plate that I wasn't sure what it was for, with an EM screw. It goes through the eyelet, oops, on the shock, and then into the threaded hole on the edge of this plate. Here. Again, keep in mind this is a shock absorber, it needs a little bit of movement, so we've tightened it, and I'm just going to go back out 1/4 turn. And that's that complete. Don't lose the wrench. You're probably going to need it for the other side. I doubt they'll give us 2, but that's it for this issue, number 32. So let's have a look at issue 33. Issue 33 is exactly the same as issue 32, it's just for the other side of the car. So I'll build that now, but there's no point me showing you the same thing again. And there we have issue 33 finished, and I think it looks good with these springs. It's all metal, well, mostly metal, so it's quite heavy. I like the fact these U-bolts are actual metal bolts and they're functional, they're not just plastic parts. So that looks really good. I'm pretty sure that's going to go on the car quite soon. So let's have a look at issue 34. Issue 34 has lots of small parts, including a couple of springs, and in my experience of building part works, springs can be fun, shall we say. They have a tendency to disappear and go long distances if you accidentally twang one across the room. So be careful with those, but we've got 2 springs, a couple of these brackets, a couple of other brackets, more nuts, 2 packets of screws, and again more U-bolts, and these tab style brackets, whatever they are. And we start with the piece we've just completed, and we're going to be putting these brackets on the end of these springs. Now there's one for left and one for right, and they are engraved with R and L. So we're going to start with 34A, which is L. So it's this one, and it's going to go on this side of the car. And we're going to face this tab's going to just sit over the top of the end of the spring, which has a hole in it, and there are two holes in this tab, and it's going to sit over the top there, and we're putting an AJM screw through it. And it's threaded, so I might need the screwdriver to get that started. Really easy to cross thread these long screws if you don't go in dead straight. So with that started, we can now start to drive that through the hole in the end of the spring. Sometimes quite hard to do that and hold it in the right position when you get started. And you need to go all the way in until it pops out the other side and screws into the other side of the bracket. Okay, that's that one, and it's fine that it's floppy. And of course we're going to do the same now on the other side. So with these two brackets in place, we're going to turn the whole thing around to look at the other end of these springs, and we're going to take these rather odd shaped brackets here, and are they identical? Symmetrical, should I say? Yes, they are. So the way these are installed, they're a funny shape. So there's a cutout here, just in front of this hole. That needs to be positioned like so, because we're going to use the with this other part of the bracket facing down, and we're going to use these U-bolts again to attach that. Now it's a bit of a tight fit, but once it's in, you can see it holds it in place. Okay, and then on the back side of that, we put this bracket here. That's going to go on the top of that U-bolt, the narrow side towards the spring. We're going to need a couple of those nuts, and we're going to just thread them onto that U-bolt, and use our wrench to tighten that up. So we've done up the first nut. Once you've done one, it gets a bit easier because everything stays together. And then repeat that for the other side. So that's the other side installed. We've got the hangers now on both sides of the springs. So now what they want us to do is to add these springs here for the shocks, and then bring the whole lot together onto the chassis without losing the springs. So even though it might not be the right way up yet, I'm going to put this way up, sit these springs on the ends there, pray that they don't come off, and we're going to need EM screws. So let's get a few of those ready, and we're going to get the chassis back over here. Yeah, so this goes on the underneath of the chassis, so we need to turn the chassis over. Keep in mind the engine's still attached, so you need to be careful not to break anything. Put some foam underneath it or something, and then take our spring and suspension assembly here. Actually, I'm going to take these springs back off until I know what we're doing. I'm going to put this roughly into position. So it goes this way round. And these brackets. So I don't know if anyone followed along with my video where I put this in. But if you did, I put it in upside down. Should have gone in. That way up. So we've put this brace in the correct way up now, so apologies for that. And now it all makes a bit more sense, because when I put the frame back in, if I put the frame back up upside down and I sit this in place, then these tabs here will just sit nicely and rest onto holes in this brace. So now we have the chassis here. We have all of this assembled with all of our brackets and hangers in place. On the back of the chassis, just about here, and the same this side, there's a little cutout, a little notch. And there's a peg that comes out the bottom of these brackets here that fits into that notch. So you just want to lay the suspension piece on top. Make sure these line up. Now you might need to just gently rotate them, the springs. Just drop that into place, and then these brackets here on this end will, if you flick them up, they will just sit and position themselves nicely over the screw holes in this brace. There are, let's have a look, 4 EM screws, 2 on each side, to hold these brackets in place. Just to make sure it's all lined up nicely. There's a bit of movement in all of these parts, so there's not, if it doesn't line up nicely, just gently see if you can move things into the right place. If they're miles out of place, you may have assembled it incorrectly. So remember, these springs here, that they are not equal in length either side. They're slightly off center. There's more length on the rear side than on the front. So if you don't put them on the right way round, everything's going to be completely out of kilter, and also your rear axle is going to end up in the wrong place. Remember to not push down on the chassis hard, because you've got it upside down and the engine's obviously quite fragile, so I'm going to be putting pressure on the engine components. So I just lift it off the desk slightly as I do it up. There we go. Now we have to get the reason I haven't done both sides is now we have to get these shock absorbers into the other half of the shock absorbers that are attached to the chassis. So if you recall, we put these black pieces on the chassis first, these ones here, and then they're the silver pieces on there. So we need to take the springs that I've managed to not lose yet. It's probably easier to just put them in, just drop them into the black half. So we drop the springs into the black half of the shock and then put the silver half in place, and they will then come together, I think. There's some spring in that. Of course, what we need to do now is attach this end, so it's sort of clipped in place, but we need some screws to hold it. So we'll flip the whole thing over, making sure that assembly doesn't drop down. 2 more EM screws go in through this side of the chassis. and that's done. That is the end of issue 34. And yeah, it's looking really good. Again, really big. I'm going to have to find a way to move the camera slightly further away because it's zoomed out as far as it will go. But that's everything for... Oops, I've knocked one of the bats off. There we go. That's everything really for the rear suspension. We've got the diff, the axle, the rear suspension, the leaf springs, both the shocks. So hopefully it won't be long before we start putting brakes and wheels on there. So it's looking really good. Very happy with that. So I hope yours is coming along just as well, if not better. And thank you very much for watching. Have a really great day, and I will see you next time. Take care.